Welcome to Untamed Blossoms, the podcast where we celebrate the untamed journey of womanhood. Here, we tell the stories of incredible women who have embraced their authenticity, inspiring others to do the same.
From entrepreneurs to artists, activists to adventurers, we share triumphs, challenges, and the beauty of self-discovery. These are the stories of women blazing their own trails, breaking free, and blooming unapologetically.
Join us to connect, be inspired, and celebrate the power of women's stories. Together, let's rewrite the rules and embrace our wildness.
Welcome to Untamed Blossoms. I'm your host, Amanda Riley.
I'm Christy Riley. Welcome to the show, everybody.
We just had Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms listening, and to you, and to every mother we've had on this podcast.
Well, you're a mommy too, just of kitties.
Yeah, they got me nothing yet again.
Another year of deadly squat
disappointment cat gifts, but did look really cute yesterday, and then Miley laid on my lap all last night. So
they knew you needed. We had full circle moment here yesterday with all the moms here.
Yeah.
All of our mommies and all of the younger the kids, grandkids. Everybody was here. My mom, my brother, your side of the family. It was like a meshing of all the families.
Yeah.
It was like the reason we bought this property. It was kind of cool. It was a cool moment. I had one of those like blowout moments where you kind of stand back and just watch it all going down yesterday.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was nice that everyone could get together. It was nice that it was nice out.
Yeah.
And, Mother Nature, she's the real mother, if you will.
For sure. Amen.
And it was just beautiful that it was a beautiful day.
It was a lovely reminder to me that, because, maybe not everybody does this. This may be a toxic trait of mine. But going into a large event, knowing that there's all these people coming, right? For me, I'm like, why did we do this? This is a lot of work, right? Like, there's this moment of like, I should have just scheduled a brunch for the moms and called it a day with our moms. And if the kids want to visit, great. And then there's this multi-generational moment yesterday where everybody's, amongst all the families, that everybody's together. And although there was some segregation because of the shade issue, which duly noted, but it was cool. Yeah. And it was a really cool moment. And it was something that I feel like I finally stocked into my brain as, when you're tired and you're like, "Ooh, this seems like a lot." And, but really my husband and son did the majority of the cooking and the majority of the work.
Yeah.
But I was like, why did we do this? Why didn't we just go to a restaurant like the rest? Yeah. Why are we doing all of this? But in that moment, I was like, oh, I remember. Yeah. This is
the moment.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool moment.
I'm so glad.
It was really beautiful. So I was glad we did it.
Yeah. So
future reminder to future self. Shut the fuck up.
Noted.
You know what I mean?
Noted. And
you're gonna have a great time and you're gonna love it. And my husband knows that. And he just does it because he knows that it will be really heart-filling for me.
Yeah.
Despite me going, oh, it's just so more ads at the plate, And then it's great.
Worked out great.
Yeah.
We have a full moon circle tonight. I'm really excited about.
I know.
And then we have next month our solstice event on the I just saw an invite. Maybe the 20th, maybe the 21st. It's Friday, the 20-something. Really excited for that. We're going to tie-dye and have music and be joyful and celebrate summer.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Me too.
I can't wait for our summer party.
So,
and today we have a repeater.
I want to say third guest on the show.
Yeah.
So we had Haley, then we had Sarah, and then we had Shay. If you all remember, Shay was going through a time and space where she wanted to be a full-time artist, but she was still working for corporate. She just dived into human design and was doing this work. So I don't want to spill her beans. I don't want to share her news, but, she's been doing a lot of work and has made a lot of changes, and it's beautiful to watch.
It has been really beautiful to watch. Shay comes to all of our moon circles as well. And so and she did all the workshops and has been putting in a ton of work. And so she really wanted to come on to share a story of inspiration about where she's been and how what she's manifested.
Yeah.
Because she is a manifester, y'all.
She is.
Full straight on manifester.
Yep. Let's see.
Manifesting energy in action. Let's see it.
Let's see what she did.
Yeah. Can't wait to hear.
Hello, Shay. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Whole new setup, very different from last time I was on.
Last time you were on, we were in a tiny room with one shared microphone for everyone.
Listen,
Yeah.
at least we weren't under blankets at that point.
It was,
We
yeah.
graduated from being out of blankets.
That's true.
There was one desk, 3 chairs, some sound panels, and a lot of hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
questions.
We've come a long way.
Yeah. It looks so good.
We have a whole room and everyone has their own microphone. It's pretty wild.
Holy cow,
I like
we've
it.
come full circle.
Yeah.
And I've been in here before, but I haven't been like here in this setting before.
Yeah.
It was real,
Wild.
real hot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm really excited.
We are so excited.
You've had a big year.
I have. Yeah.
Was that fully sunk into you?
No, not at all, honestly. I don't really like ever. Okay, so my mood has totally changed, right? Like just the stuff you carry from day to day it's different now. It's a lot less. And I do find that when stuff comes up now, I'm much more upset about it. So it's interesting to try to learn how to balance that stuff. But everything feels like perfect,
Yeah.
as much as, we can say that it is.
Because really, when we talked to you last, that was like July.
Yeah,
would
I
say.
think it was July 22nd.
Wow.
Specifically,
Yeah.
I had called off work because I was sick. And the answer is that I was sick of it, which is, I was like, I don't want to do this today or ever again. Respectfully,
Yes.
goodbye.
See you. Bye.
That does ring a bell. Yeah. So, I mean, that was then last summer. So we're almost a little shy of a year, right?
Yeah.
But then we're talking about you learning your human design, being a manifester, learning what that means for you, working with the energy type that you are, and then kind of talking about your hopes and dreams, what you want to accomplish. So what went down? What happened since July of 2024?
I'm not really sure what happened in August or September, or October, frankly. At the end of October, I remember just telling anyone who would listen that I would love it if I didn't work at my job anymore. I brought it up at parties. I was just hoping for someone to tell me that it could happen, But working in, the startup culture that I worked in for 5+ years, layoffs are pretty regular. Everything's a cycle. So I thought if I just wait, maybe it'll be me, like a lottery. And then it was mid-October, late October, someone in the creative department had reached out and I had worked with them on a few things maybe a year or so before, some social posts for Tax Day or Earth Day or something. And that was cool. And she was really supportive and encouraging and already kind of in the position I wanted to be in. So she was great about giving feedback. And when you work with someone outside of a support part of a company, they're all just so relaxed. They're like, yeah, whenever you get to it. But if it's support, they're like, actually right now,
Actually, we needed that yesterday.
we are being sued. So it was nice to just see that other pace of things.
And you mean she had the job that you would have wanted if you stayed with?
Yeah,
that
she was like a
company.
senior brand designer or something. So she had reached out to me and she was saying, hey, are you interested in illustration for a family friend of mine? And immediately, yes. I'm, at this point where thank you for remembering that I'm an illustrator. I'm on board. What are we doing? And so it was her childhood best friend's father had written a story for his kids 30 some years ago, something like that. So they're about my age, and he has always wanted to turn it into a book. And so he had people dress up in costumes and take photographs, and then he edited those, and he wanted to do the most he could because he, I believe, has a photography background. So he wanted to make it as real as he could with his skills. And he sent all of that material over to me, which was just really, really cool to see. So we got to talking and we met on a Zoom call, and he's great. And he, wanted to work with me. And I'm just like imposter syndrome, like crazy. I'm like, me though? Are you sure? So, but it's really cool because he's just such a dad. And I'm so new at all of this like freelance stuff and big projects and things like that. So he's been patient with me. Like I can tell like we're learning from each other, and that's really nice. So spoiler alert, I got the project. So it's a 32-page children's book about a crabby little boy. It's called The Crabby Prince, and I'm really excited for everybody to see it in the real world. Right now it's just digital, but we're getting there. I'm in the final illustration part, which is really great.
What's been like your biggest learning curve so far, right? Because you've been doing illustrations and for different avenues, but like I have to feel, and you have project management background within your job.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Yes.
You forget when you're being sued.
So like, those two things joining together of like your creative passion plus a project management, I would have to assume there were things that you're like, okay, got this. And then things that you were like, wow, never considered this.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting just from a communication perspective that I was always ready to jump on a Zoom call, and he just called me on the telephone once, and I was waiting in a Zoom waiting room, and he just called me on the phone, and I was like, I didn't actually say it was Zoom. I did agree to a call, and I didn't say what kind. So that was interesting. Just he's like, I could tell he was kind of like, why are we meeting with video call? But I'm just 5 years. If that's what we do, we just hop on a call, we fix the problem, and then we keep it moving.
So that's just an age of a generational difference thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great, like meeting with him and just learning how how it goes. And I think the biggest learning curve was saying what my rate was and then not immediately going to like, or whatever you think I deserve, or nothing, I'll just do it for free if you want, like how if I kind of get panicked, I'm like, I'll just give up on everything I've ever believed in and I'll do whatever you want. Classic people, please. So that's been really interesting.
So like standing in your value and saying like, this is what my talent is worth.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And even if I'm okay taking a job for less money, what I have to think about is other creative people. Because if I'm doing a lot of work for no money, then that devalues, so you have to kind of,
the way to look at it.
Yeah, you have to respect the whole field, the creative field. There is a graphic artist's like guidebook that they release every year. Here's the industry standard for these projects and, what could change the cost up or down.
Yeah.
So I bought that and I read through the parts that applied to me and I thought, wow, this is a lot. But I'm really fortunate to be able to start with a client who is also new at this too. Yeah. So it feels like everybody's very patient with each other, which is great. I was ready for him to have a lot of negative feedback about my work when I first sent sketches over. Because and if you talk to any artist, I feel like out of every 10 pieces they make, they might like one of them. And that's like pretty common. So I thought, well, these are horrible. He's going to hate this. But I have to get it in front of him. And that's scary because, you're going to get some feedback. But what you don't know is that when I went through school was during COVID. I got my education remotely. So you don't get a lot of community, like creative community from that. So I'm not as comfortable with feedback. I need it and I want it, but it's not something that I'm like, this is how this feels and this is how I move through it. But he didn't really have negative feedback. It was just nice to hear how he's like, okay, I imagine it this way. Or what if it was, like this? And he's also really funny. He's like just such a dad and puns and jokes, and he's great. So we included those in the book. And what I like to do in my illustrations is to like make you look around at the small stuff. Like there's kind of a subplot of this book, if you're paying attention to the illustrations, where there are like mice popping out from the castle walls, like looking at the prince being crabby and like having an expression on their face. So he loved that. And then we worked on a lot of different ways to, be funny. And one of the things that I still don't understand, but he loves it so much, is this clock that's in one of the images of the kitchen. And it's a specific way that engineers count. And he wanted the numbers displayed that way. And I still don't get it, but I just said, can you just like take a picture of what the hands should look like? Because I can.
You could just let me know what that is.
Yeah, because I thought I understood it. And he goes, that's not it at all. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So once we got that figured out, he was happy. But like there's a bookcase in one of the illustrations, and there's a lot of classic book titles, but he's made them all like puns. Like instead of War and Peace, it's called War and Peace.
War and Peace.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's funny.
And isn't it interesting that you had a job where the feedback that you got, right, was like you're doing something right or wrong? There's really no in between.
Mostly right though.
Almost always right.
Yeah.
But and with art, when you're just trying to sell it, people like it or they don't. Exactly. So it's very black and white in both those instances.
Me nodding my head. You can't hear that? Okay, great.
She's nodding her head if you're listening to this on Spotify. But then with this, like with illustration, really all you're doing is trying to match what he's imagining. And that is fun. Like that feels fun. Like so fun.
Yeah, making someone's dreams come true.
Yeah.
You're like realizing their dream. So that's been really great. So 2 weeks after he says, I'd like to hire you, it's early November. I wake up and I'm like, I have to go to work one more time. I'm not going to do it. So I get up, and I hadn't been going to the gym like I had before. So I get up and I say, okay, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I go to the gym and I'm okay, guys, nothing changes if nothing changes. I get in my car. I go home. I join my meeting with my boss, and the HR lady is there.
Never a good sign.
And so my meeting had already been moved to near the end of the week, earlier in the day. And so like I'm checking all of the boxes. Like, you're about to be laid off. This is what's about to happen. Yeah. And I join the meeting, and the HR lady is there, and she's looking at me. She's like, good morning. And I go, oh, I thought I had at least another month before this was going to happen, because I got so used to them always happening in the first week of December around one of our friends' birthdays, which has made it kind of hard for her to celebrate.
Yeah, really.
So I was kind of thinking that was my kind of countdown. And they, said, no, today's, the whole thing that they read you the script. It's what do they call it? Reduction in force. So it's, budgetary. I was so excited. I was smiling immediately. They were kind of, I think, caught off guard, because I guess when you let people go, it kind of goes bad sometimes.
Did you have those poppers, where you like the celebratory, like I didn't know this was going to happen, but I had this just in case.
I remember yelling out, this is serendipitous. And they were both kind of like, okay.
She's weird. We should go now.
What was great is that, like, if I had quit, I wouldn't have gotten any severance.
Yeah.
I would have had some 2-week period of time, like I was saying to you previously, where it would have been like just this romanticizing, play me out, play, Graduation by Vitamin C. And like, I don't need any of that. So they were like, this is over. And I thought, okay, this is over. And I shut my computer down, and I got it ready to send back, because I knew they were going to send me a box. And that was that. I didn't have to. It was just like, I carried all of this, and they said, you can put it down. Yeah. And then I did. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know what to do. I panic cleaned my whole house. I cleaned like all the cat litter boxes, everything. I just did the most. And then I slept for like 12 hours. And then I kind of woke up the next day, like, obviously I'm still burnt out. So I'm like excited that this has happened. And I'm just sort of thinking, like, how can I like car wash my soul? Like, how can I get this off of me? You know? And it was just a bunch of time. I would just like sit at home and watch TV and sleep and keep my own schedule. And I was up at night, sleeping during the day. It was all of the freedom that I had wanted.
what happened to your art during that time? Like, not the book, right? That you're illustrating, and that's a job. But like, when we first talked to you, it was like you wanted this freedom almost to be able just to lean into your craft and really spend time. So what do you feel like after I call it the newborn phase?
Yeah.
Of after any serious situation where you just need to be a little newborn. Yeah. And sleep, eat, do nothing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Once you get through that, what did that look like? What did you start doing?
Well, for a while I was giving myself a hard time, that whole thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to relax today, but if I could relax in a productive way, that would be ideal. So I had to just sort of understand that I wasn't going to be productive, and that was okay. But as someone whose worth is tied to their productivity, yikes, like that's really hard. Me asking my husband every day, is this okay? Is this okay? Are you all right? Are you mad at me? Like, and then after that, I said, I'm not going to ever ask any men if they're mad. I like ever again. And I don't really think that I had. It was like 3 days into the sketchbook boot camp I was doing with a creative community that I really like. And I was like, oh, I have all day to do this now. And the point of stuff like maybe you don't, but the point of like sketchbook boot camp is like sketch every day. Just try to show up for yourself a little bit. And it's just consistency. Yeah. So I thought, oh my gosh, and she was like recommending some time limits just because it's nice to see what you can create with the time limit so you don't fuss over everything. Right. And so something actually does get finished. Right. Because like it's your sketchbook, it's your business. You don't have to share it with anybody. Right. So I started spending a lot of time on those illustrations, and it was sketchbooks. So it was like tactile art. I'm, color pencils, paintbrushes, and it was amazing. I thought, oh my gosh, like, awesome, because I'm doing the digital work, and so I need something to offset it, and that was really great. So my creativity has just sort of been allowed to, I don't know, how like dough rises. I feel like it's just sort of like with time and the right circumstances, I'm a loaf of bread. Right. So, but that's been amazing. Like I don't know, I'm making stuff that I really like. And I would say I might like 3 pieces out of every 10 that I was making in that time. So let's say that was, so it's right before the holidays, right? So you get laid off and they're like, here's some severance. And I think now I have to go to every Christmas thing because I'm like, all right, well, I can't be busy because I'm not. So that was like nice to be able to just be present with my family. For the first time maybe ever around the holidays, because everybody's like in their own stuff. I go back to work. We're gonna have to deal with that. It was Christmas. Yeah. So I would say like early February. I don't know, maybe right around the Super Bowl time. That boot camp was over. I was working on just kind of like whatever I wanted to work on, which is nuts. I told myself in November that I was going to finish my studio and I was going to get it all set up, and today on May 12th. It's not set up. But it's like there's progress being made, which is nice. I need to, at this point, like my art is fun and that's going well, but I need to stick to a schedule. But all of my relationships with schedules are someone else giving it to me. Someone's like, you have to be here. You need to do this. Don't forget to go to the doctor. But now things I'm scheduling are fun and exciting, but I'm feeling like they're doctor's appointments.
Do you think it has anything to do with your being a manifester? Like, have you thought like how that ties into what your days look like now? And
so with being a manifester, it's sort of like, you just have kind of like a ebbs and flows of energy, right? So I have an energy spike where I am going to take all the carpet out of one of the bedrooms. Happened. So you order the electric scissors and you say, there's nothing I can't do with time. Great, and then there are times where I don't, it's the opposite of that. I have no energy. So respecting that without being mean to myself is very helpful. But keeping my own schedule, sleeping when I want, being awake when I want, regardless of, is it daylight outside? Is it weird for my husband who's sleeping in the other room that I'm playing Taylor Swift at 4 a.m.? So I'm keeping my own schedule, right? And that's awesome. I'm like honoring my, like I can go to the gym in the middle of the night if I wanted to. I haven't wanted to, but it should, if I did, I could. Yeah. So I just do things that like, I guess you would say like maybe weird times or,
Can you speak to more to that? Like, how does that really feel in your body? Like, what has that transformed for you inside in the world of Shay to really not to have to keep anybody's schedule, to truly, for the first time, maybe in your adult life, maybe in your life period, right?
Yeah.
That you are on your own timetable as a manifester, which is really what you're supposed to do, right? Like that's what manifestors are supposed to be. So this is literally the very first time. What does that opened up for you? What have you experienced in yourself?
I'm a lot softer of a person than I thought I was maybe, or that I wanted to admit that I was, because I don't know, imagine you're out in the world and you have to be kind of callous to so many things, and because you're going to bump up against edges and boundaries and other people's schedules and expectations. And so you just think like, oh, I don't want to do that. And now I'm like, well, I'm moving through the world how I want to without feeling bad. Like I used to call it a snow day when I didn't want to go to work or I didn't want to go to school. I would just say, I'm taking a snow day. And that meant I wasn't going to be mean to myself and that no one could call me on the phone and that I was going to probably play World of Warcraft all day. And that was my 20s. Well, yeah. Scene. But now I'm doing like what I want to do. I don't feel like I don't fit in because I'm not in someone else's maze or box or container of some kind. Yeah. Once I was able to fully understand that my husband was not mad at me for not bringing in a regular corporate job amount of money, it's been fine because I don't actually need anything. Like we've talked about this a little bit, where when you have to do with less financially, you actually like don't need the stuff. I was just buying stuff to, serotonin, who knows?
I think when work is miserable and there's like nothing but challenge after challenge and just frustration, and you get the Sunday scaries, so you basically have one day a week where you're feeling fine. That's a Saturday, maybe. Then you feel pressured to do all the things because your only day, and then Sunday you're dreading Monday. I think that you do what you have to do to get through it, and a lot of people abuse substances. Some people shop. Some people gamble. Like it's
some people
whatever it is. People dabble in everything.
Yeah. All the above.
So I think it's like a natural thing to find something to bring joy in those moments of like, this really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that something that's always helped me in my life, when I was at my most depressed, for anybody listening to this that knows me, fall 2016 is the time, and Hilliard, Ohio is the place. But at my very worst, that's where I was at. And I always felt like if I had something to look forward to, it would be okay. So my art became something to look forward to, and it truly like kept me alive, Yeah. And now it's like whatever I want it to be. I always have it to look forward to. And I feel really bad for people who don't have it, because I think like, sometimes my husband will say, I'm having a hard day. And I'm like, oh, you just have to have something to look forward to. And he's like, oh, okay.
Like,
thanks for that.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, draw something. And no. So yeah, it's been really interesting for sure.
That's awesome. What has he noticed? What have you noticed in your relationship with him?
I'm more present, which is great. I have less road rage. But I noticed that before he said it, so that's great. Because I'm not really in a hurry. If I'm at the grocery store and someone looks like they're going through it, I'm just going to let them go ahead of me. I don't care. You're
going to assume that they're in a corporate job that they hate too. And
yeah.
You're like, I'm not there anymore. I'll let you go.
Like you probably have limited time, and I don't want to take any of these minutes from you. Like in traffic too, I'm just going to get all the way out of the way. Oh, you're going slow. Like I'm going slow. I don't care. I'm going to just get out of here. I just, I'm early for everything, which is weird. As someone who is like chronically 6 to 7 minutes late for everything.
Yeah, you're like, I will be there early.
Yeah. Because I want to go to the things now.
You're
You
like,
know?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, you have the energy, right? To be in those spaces, whereas before it's like hard to do that all day long and
Yeah.
then still do that later. And I'm sure the same way with your husband, right? Like with any relationship, when you're dealing with everyone else's problems all day long and fixing things, you were a fixer by like the definition of your job, fix things and created things.
One of the biggest things after getting laid off was that I knew that no one was really looking at what I was doing. Not like I wasn't being supervised, but like my job, the product of my work wasn't being like utilized to its full potential. Because when you work in a situation where maybe there's like some hesitance to adopt a way of searching for information, one person doesn't like it and then no one uses it. So I got a message after leaving my job, and it was someone telling me how much that I did. And I thought, well, I know that. I wish that you'd have known that before now, but I'm happy to be seen in a way that it's nice to have. I didn't need it. I didn't see it coming, so that was really kind of cool. At first I was like, I wanted to reach out to my friends, and I'm like, it's the middle of the night. And I'm like, I don't care. If they don't have their phone silenced because they're sleeping, like I can't do everything.
Yeah. You could be in charge of their phone habits.
Right. And I can silence my phone. I can just say, no, thanks. I used to do it only when I was anxious. Like I would say something snappy back to someone I was in an argument with or something, and I would silence my phone. I don't want to be confronted with this. Where people are like, oh, I call you and then you call me and I call you back and you've thrown your phone in the lake. And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, very.
And now I just don't want to be reminded of like the sales at Michael's or that I have to pay for going to the hospital. I don't want to deal with any of that, which I did have to do in February. I had like an issue with a medication and I was really ill and I had to go to the emergency room, and that bill has a comma in it. And I'm thinking, it's got the time. I'm not paying that.
I did have a question though.
I love questions.
So since you've had some extra time, if you will, I feel like you've done a lot more deep diving into your chart and your astrology chart, and you knew a lot of things before, but I feel like you've really gotten into things, and you have subscribed to different, creators, or, read different things, and a lot about knowing where you should be geographically when it comes to your chart. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and what you found in your travels?
So I've always liked being near the water. When I was younger, I remember going to the beach was like really exciting. We didn't get to do it every year. I would usually go with like friends, families, or things like that. But whenever I'm around the water, moving water. I mean, I love rain and thunderstorms, and I know that like I might be alone in this room with that. Not really sure, but I
also love them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
He stands alone.
Yeah.
It's Amanda that stands alone.
Yeah.
The storms, the heavy storms.
Yeah, something about storms, like the worse they are, the more comfortable I feel, because I think that like I'm okay here because everyone is where they're supposed to be and no one is out menacing in the rain.
Yeah.
Can't have a purge in the rain, I guess. But yeah, I love going to the beach so much so as last summer. A few weeks before I was on the podcast, I went on a little solo trip to the beach. And that was a good time. But even on that trip, I felt like I have to make the most of my time. I have to do the most stuff.
Yeah, you got your portraits done.
Yeah, I found a photographer in the area I went to, and she was really great. We talked about doing a sunset shoot at the beach, and she said that since I'm an artist, she's like, it would be fun if you're painting. So she brought a little canvas and paints, and yeah, it was great. So I also then went to the beach this year. Since being laid off, I went to a part of the beach that's not really spring breaky. It's more like a retiree kind of community. It's just North Myrtle Beach, so it's close to Myrtle Beach, but and I went in March because it's the off season, so it's super cheap. And I stayed in one of those places that's like got a kitchenette and all that. So, but I was smarter about it this time. When I had gone to Florida the summer before, I stayed in like a nice hotel that wasn't right on the ocean. And the whole time I thought, man, I'd love to be sitting on the ocean. Yeah, Myrtle Beach in March was great. I went knowing that I just wanted to be there. So
Yeah.
I asked for a high floor room because I didn't want my experience to be tarnished by being on the second floor of a pool deck where I'm just like, oh, hey, it's me again. So yeah, I got like on the top floors, like the 10th floor or something. So I'm just all the way up there. No one's going to bother me. It's the middle of the week in March. So no one is there.
Yeah.
I checked in on St. Patrick's Day, and pulling up mid St. Patrick's Day, it was still pretty chill. And I thought, this is right. This is the right
spot.
And like the people that were there were older and they keep my hours. So that was nice.
Yeah.
So the first morning I set my alarm so that I could get up and go watch the sunrise. And I have this really cool picture. It's a panoramic shot, so you can see the sun coming up on the horizon, like just the glow of it. And then on the other side, you still see the moon. And it was so beautiful. It was freezing cold. I remember going out there in my jams, and then I was hit with all this wind because I'm so high up in the air that I was like, oh my gosh. So I went in and I put on like everything warm that I had brought with me. And I went out there and sat, and it was really, really nice. And I did that every morning. I set my alarm for when the sunrise was because I just wanted to see it. And I just, there were crazy storms while I was there. And if we can put ocean and storms together, oh my God.
You're in.
And then you can't say that to people who live in communities where like it ruins their lives and kills people. Because I remember being like, I love storms. And someone who's like in the thick of hurricanes is like, well, that's ambulance. I'm so sorry.
We're from Wisconsin, and a hurricane or a tornado took out our entire family.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, nuts.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was really cool because no one's out on the beach. It's like everything is like foggy and gray, and you're like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, this actually sounds like I would go home. But
yeah,
everyone has their own beach day.
Yeah,
it was great. I loved it. And I went down to like make a bunch of art. I was going to make so much art at the beach. I didn't make much art at all, but I wasn't mad at myself about it. You know? Yeah, I was just kind of like, oh, I just need to be near the water. It makes me feel better. And then I learned about something called like the blue mind theory, which is that people, you know, since we're made up of so much water, are just naturally happier
at the beach
or near water.
There's also usually you're barefooted on the beach, and so there's usually, for those of us who don't pick up our shoes, it is an absolute grounding experience that literally changes your electric field in your body. So immediately you're discharged to the earth, which makes everyone feel better. And so it's sometimes the only place that people experience that is on the beach, because that's where they take their shoes off, because everybody wears shoes all the time. I mean, we're weird and we never have shoes on.
I don't have shoes on right now.
You don't. Yeah. I don't. I mean, I've got my flip-flops on, but very rarely.
I put my feet in my Crocs because of dangers of the world. And then when I know there aren't any, I take them out of the Crocs.
Right.
I love that.
I'm wearing what I'm wearing, and I shut up and Crocs.
I love that.
Yeah. So it was great. Yes. I walked on the beach. It was really nice. I didn't want to go too far. I was a little nervous about like walk, but that's what I get for watching a bunch of
certainly. No, absolutely.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, watching this, going to sleep, maybe I'll get killed. So I didn't go on like long walks. But I definitely touched sand for sure. And I created on the beach a little bit. I took my little watercolor palette out there, and I got fancy for my trip. And,
how often do you take a solo trip? I think this is important information for women to hear that are also manifestors, because I think alone time is really important for me.
Yeah, especially when you're married. I think, and you have a really great take on this, so I would like for you to share that too. But I think people feel really bad about going on solo trips, especially once you're married. Yeah. Like it's just this weird guilt thing.
Okay, so yes, I never liked being alone. I never went on a solo trip. My own company was the worst. What? And I stopped being creative for a really long time after I got out of high school, and I said, I don't want to be an artist because I'll have to be inside all the time. I'm such an inside girl. Like, this is so stupid. But I'm seeing people that followed the path that I wanted to, and now they're in the animation industry and there's no work. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's fine. So I hadn't ever taken any before. I didn't like being by myself. So I meet my husband, and I don't know, a little ways into our relationship, maybe after we get engaged, we've been together. I looked at him and I said, I know this is going to sound so mean, but like, I never liked being alone until I met you. And he's like, oh, okay. And to anybody, they're like, oh, that sounds horrible. Like, I sure hate you. I love being by myself now. No, but I'm so much more comfortable in my own company. I enjoy my own company. I like, know my worth, as they say. And I just really, I love it. So last July was the first time I ever took a solo trip. Super fun, loved it. And then this March was great. So just the two within the past year. And I think that finance is willing. I think that semi-annually is a great, yeah. And if you're someone who can work from anywhere, that's great too. But you also, like traveling while you're still attached to your laptop is kind of tough. But my husband doesn't work remotely. So.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And he's not a beach boy either.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't even really like traveling. He doesn't like going to concerts or anything like that. So it's nice because I can get a better seat, an earlier flight. Like I can just say, oh, okay, great.
Right.
Last summer I flew Southwest, which was awesome. This year I thought seems dicey. I'm not really, you're just not really sure.
Planes were going down left and right there for a hot minute.
Yeah, and I thought, it's more expensive to fly. I have a ton of time. So I'll just drive.
Yeah.
And that was great. Like while I was in it, I thought, ugh. Driving to South Carolina from Ohio is that obviously like you get on, you get into West Virginia and you have to drive through the thickest part of it. And you're like, oh my God, I'm never leaving here. And then you get into Virginia and it's like the really thin part of Virginia. And then you just have the Carolinas to contend with. And you're like, okay, I'm so
Most
close.
of the way there.
Yeah.
Myrtle Beach isn't a long drive in comparison to Florida. Florida's 2 days,
Yeah.
And I know when I'm on, like when I was on my way back, the Tamarack in West Virginia, what is it? It's like, they have food. I don't know what to call it.
It's a food court.
Yeah, but
but with gas
and local shops.
And and parking and right.
So many knickknacks.
A lot of knickknacks
Yes.
and parking for semis.
Yeah, and I bought a thumb piano there once. But I know on my way back that means like I'm getting close. But then I felt like I was on the road for a while on my way down, and then I saw it, and I'm like, I'm only at the Tamarack. But it was nice. I had an audiobook I was excited to listen to, and not having to manage someone else's experiences or emotions or anything like that. Like even if my husband had gone with me and just done whatever he wanted, I still would have checked in with him. I still would have. You still have to eat, So I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to keep my own schedule and like eat strawberries at 2 a.m. if I wanted to. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And like we just have different levels of comfort. And he's definitely prefers to be at home. Like he doesn't even really like going to sporting events because he says I can just watch it from the house, which is like the entertainment equivalent of we have food at the house. I'm like, but it's also right out there. He did go to a concert with me once. It was cool. It was nice.
He did his best.
Well, he really only went because, so this was 2022. We went to see Halsey because we originally we wanted to see Halsey in 2020, but that tour got pushed to 2021 and then Halsey got pregnant, so it got canceled. So Billy was going to propose at the Halsey concert in 2020, but since it got moved, instead he just proposed to me the day after we moved in together on Mother's Day.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, it's the ring that counts. So
yeah,
as I say,
I need to try a solo trip. I've never taken one.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Never taken a solo trip.
If you're going to schedule a trip, you're probably going to say, okay, like where would, and this happens like all the time with people with kids and grandkids. They're like, oh, what would they like to do that I can help create for them? But like, what would you do if you were just, where would you go?
That's what I think about all the time is that I think I do touch base with everyone so much that it would be a lovely practice for me, I think, to go and just, even if it's like for a day trip but I need to be intentional about it because I'm one of those people that won't go to a fancy restaurant and order myself something really nice unless somebody else is going with me.
Oh, yeah.
I won't go get ice cream unless somebody else really wants to go get it if I want it. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people like, oh, never mind. It wasn't meant to be. Instead of just being like, no, I really want that. It doesn't matter if nobody else wants it. I want it. And so I think it's really interesting to me to listen to you talk about it, because I'm like, what would I do with myself for a whole weekend? Where would I take myself? What would I do? What would I prepare myself to eat? And I think I would want to go into it being really intentional, to really lean in, to not, I would, to my own accord at night. And maybe that's caregiver burnout, but like, I won't cook myself something nice. I'll make eggs, or I'll eat a bowl of cereal, or I'll make myself a cold sandwich.
I'll almost never feed myself, to be honest with you. So I sometimes am really, really, really bad about that. Like, my husband's like, hey, could you just like try to feed yourself while I'm at work? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if it comes up, and it never comes. So then by the time he gets home, I'm like, hey, turns out I've had an Oreo and a piece of cheese, and it's 6 p.m. and I'm crying.
I'm starving.
And he's just like, how hard is it to drink water and eat a sandwich? I'm like,
Don't get me started.
pretty hard if you don't care about it or think about it.
Yeah.
So then when he gets home, I'm like, oh, you're right. I am hungry.
What's nice on the solo trip, to your point, is you can go out to a restaurant.
Yeah, I did.
Mhm.
It was great.
And just literally what you want, what strikes you. You don't have to plan it. You don't have to say, well, this person's a picky eater. This person doesn't like seafood. Or you can just go.
I
really
want to
targeted,
explore this, right? Like, I should made this choice and I want to go explore it.
Yeah.
And if I made a bad choice, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah. I did I would call it a 50-50 solo trip where I traveled to Florida after I got divorced. I was separated at the time. And my friend lived down there. And so I stayed with her 2 nights, and then I stayed by myself at the hotel for 3 nights because she had 2 kids,
right.
small place. I said, I will.
That's not a vacation.
That's a vacation. So
that's like summer camp.
Yeah. So I got myself a hotel on the beach 3 nights and stayed with her 2 nights. And it was the weirdest thing I've ever done, and the coolest thing, because it was that same thing of just like every day you wake up and you're like, well, I can do whatever I want. And
what'd you do with yourself if that was the first time? Did you struggle? Like, be honest.
Oh, of course I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had plans with her like later in the day because she had to work, you know what I mean? And so I just got up and I was like, I worked at Verizon still at the time. So I was just so in the thick of managing people and being in all of that, and knew I was getting out of my relationship, my marriage. And I was just like, wow. And so I just like really spent time re-regulating my nervous system. Like, I just like sat by myself, went to the beach, read, and ate a bunch of food. Yeah. Seriously.
That's interesting. Because it was before you got sober. So I'm sort of curious as like how that, because now that sounds exactly like a trip you would take.
Yeah.
And just now I found myself wondering, like, if you were, coming out of a marriage, I'm a margarita, thank you.
It was interesting because I am such we call him a good time Charlie, right? Like, I feel like I'm a good time Charlie, and I liked drinking because I liked the excitement of it all. Boring drinking isn't really for me. Like, if I'm sitting here I'm not going to order a drink by myself somewhere because that would be too boring for me. Like, what am I going to do? Like, right. But like, I would at the end of the night get some bottles of wine, go back to my hotel room. I would drink like that, but I didn't really do much day drinking at all because I was doing it myself.
That's awesome. Because it's almost like you were enough company for yourself, so you like didn't need to drink.
It's almost like I was drinking to avoid, I don't know, my career and people around me. Almost like that.
Mm-hmm. So. Almost.
That's what my first husband. And avoiding his career was not having a job.
Wow, he was really good at that.
Yeah, I had 3 jobs. He had no jobs. He was 11 years older than me. And I thought, oh, he's got what a fool. But like, it's one of those things you can't tell someone not to do. They have to do it. And then they have to be like, that was tough.
First marriages, everyone has them,
That's my favorite thing to say in a group of people who haven't had, they're in them. They're still in them. Or like when I'm around like my the people that my husband grew up with are very conservative and religious. So divorce is just
We don't speak of it.
shameful. And then I'm just like, well, it's a rite of passage.
They're like, excuse me. You're like, well,
I learned a lot about myself through my first one. It was great.
Yeah, one time someone said to me that being divorced was like very like mysterious and cool. And I'm like, you know what?
yeah. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Because like the only really bad thing that happened from getting a divorce was that like a judge scolded me for getting married. I'm like, well, maybe scold the other person in the marriage who didn't show up for the divorce because he never showed up for the marriage.
Yeah. You're like, there's an at-fault situation.
Whatever you gotta say, bub. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll sign whatever paper. So imagine me in there when I like just have to do the thing and say, okay, yeah. And instead I just want to throw the papers at him and hit him with his own gavel.
I like hate this. Speaking of releasing, tonight's the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
Scorpio. Flower moon.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna so usually I go to the full moon circle.
Yeah.
But not tonight. I'm just gonna be by myself.
I love that. What are you trying to release tonight?
Just like I would say just this little old thing. Where I grew up where everything was like tied to like how much does that cost or what is that or oh that's nice, how could you afford that? And like also me, Shay, you went on 2 solo trips, you don't have a single job in the world. And I'm like, whatever's important. I just have to let go of like feeling like I need money to like be part of things. I used to be like, okay, you're having a bad day, I'm gonna Venmo you so you can get a smoothie. Because like I don't know how to, I hadn't done the inside work, so I'm like, I'm not touching that. Here's $10 for a smoothie. Or like someone's going through a hard time, I'm not gonna make them food, I'm gonna send them money. Like, yeah, okay. Because I was raised like my mom wasn't around a lot because she was working all the time, so I had things because she wasn't there. So I think that it was like hard to unlearn that like I bring more to the table than things. And so when I can't give money or stuff, I think like I'm worthless, you know? So like unlearning that. So that I really like to let go of like that way of thinking. Recently I was like growing up, like we had, I guess we would say like upper middle class. Isn't it interesting how we say upper class, lower class, but we really like to parse out the middle class into like all of these different,
yeah,
all of these different little bits. But we were, you know, we had money and we were comfortable and definitely living outside of our means. I think, like looking back at it as a 37-year-old woman, I'm like, I don't know how we were doing that. Like it was just so interesting. Now I don't need like I always am asking my husband like, hey, I'm not bringing in money like I was anymore. Like, are you going to kick me out? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, but it turns out he loves me for me and not like what I bring to the table. So that's really interesting to learn. I'm like, oh, okay.
This whole time?
Because like my dad's not in my life. I haven't seen him since I was 7. So I just like don't have a foundation of like how things are supposed to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, just letting go of just that super heavy stuff that I've spent my whole life
believing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to just be at home tonight and because it's nice. I like coming to the full moon circles, but yeah, I just am feeling tonight like I don't really want to know what anybody else has like got going on.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me also to like check out and find peace if I know that like I just was with all of my pals and they're all like suffering or sad or, you know, hurt in some way, you know, and I'm just like, I carry that with me, you know,
I like trying to get through your own.
And I'm absorbing people's emotions like all the time. And so I'm like, you know, I'm not able to relax. I'm like, okay, well, how can I help you deal with what you got? And I can't, you know? Yeah. So I'm excited to just be in my own stuff. Sit in my own soup.
Sit in my own soup. That's the medicine. You participated in our 4-part series with Sarah on kind of learning more about your self through human design.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that helped you through this whole process? Do you feel like you learned a whole lot about yourself, or what kind of part did that play in your transition?
So yeah, I learned a lot. And what was great going through that series with you guys and Sarah was that Sarah's also a manifestor. So I felt like sometimes I struggle when people are like, here's some advice. I'm like, you have no idea. How dare you? But Sarah does. So that it felt very, I felt very seen. And then we worked through we did the shadow work and we learned about those. And I think that the thing that sticks the most for me is learning that you're not gonna ever get rid of the bad parts of your personality. So how do you integrate them into your life? Because you can't your personality isn't a la carte, you just have what you have. And after some certain age, which I'm probably past, it's nothing I can do about it now. But yeah, it's helped me be I would say most helpful when I'm around people that I don't agree with, maybe politically or otherwise. Really, it's just all political now. So when I'm with, my in-laws and stuff, that's kind of tough because I get nervous that I'm going to get mad at them. And then I'm going to just say okay, well, here's all this stuff I'm mad about and it's all your fault. But surprisingly enough, it's been crickets from them lately. And I wonder why. Which has been kind of refreshing because we spend more time with them now because they don't say anything.
Love that for you.
Me too.
Good.
Well, since we talked last, is there any new art person or spiritual person or anyone that's popped into your life, whether you know them through real life or not, that you feel has been a good resource for you to help you continue grow, or even just a new practice that you've started?
Yes, but the first thing that comes to mind is that I have a 153-day streak on Duolingo. So I'm started with Spanish and I took it in high school. So I'm I just really, all of the things that I'm learning about myself are you love to learn, you love the water, you love languages. And I'm you know what I do? I do love them.
I do love all that all the things.
So I started Spanish back up. And then when I felt it was getting harder, I was well, let's just dabble in French because I love a good vocabulary. Let's play a guessing game.
Yeah.
And then recently we were at dinner with the fam and my husband's oh, the team that I work for at work, their headquarters or whatever is in Milan. And I thought that's cool. So I think I should probably learn Italian because I might, maybe I have to go there or I'm traveling. Immediately, my eyes turn into actual hearts. He finished his first Italian Duolingo lesson, and I thought, I'm more in love with you now. Because I always wanted him to learn something with me. I just don't care.
How could you not?
Yeah. But art-wise, since when?
Last time we talked.
Oh. Okay, art people. Yeah, so I've been learning a lot from this. She's definitely an artist, but she's also primarily an educator. Her name's Lisa Bardot, Bardot. And she makes a lot of digital brush sets for the software that's pretty commonly used. It's called Procreate. That's what I do a lot of my art in. And she makes a lot of brushes for those, and she does classes, and I joined her online community, and it's great. I was previously in a different online creative. You're not limited. You can be a multiples. It's up to you. You can be membership based. Yeah, exactly. You can do whatever you want to do. But I liked the people, but I the value wasn't the same for me. And Lisa just seems more aligned with the type of art I want to make. That so, that's been pretty great. And I'm also taking an illustration course called Getting Paid to Draw. So it's just the business part of it that you don't really learn. So I'm learning all of that, and I'm excited to move into spaces where I, what I'm learning is a lot of male artists just pretended they were more successful than they were to get clients that then made them actually successful.
Classic.
So I think that's what I'm going to start doing. It's just, yeah.
Oh, I love that strategy.
When I was working a little bit on the social, I did an Earth Day illustration, and at the time, I'm not sure now, but they was partnered with a huge company, and they had reshared my art on their LinkedIn. And
Leverage that shit, girl. Leverage that shit.
I remember saving the link, and I included it in my self-review that year, and I'm like,
Well, you keep saying that you really don't have a real job, but that's really not true. You're continuing to illustrate the first book. It's almost done. He's committed, I believe.
Yes, in conversations, we've talked about how he would like to do another book because this is primarily based around his son. And he mentioned that he would like to do one about his daughter.
Yeah.
And he actually has that title of the book hiding amongst the books. So just that he's awesome. Doing Easter eggs without me even saying it is just like, wow, I feel like we're the same.
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah. And so what are we striving towards? Like, what's your goal? Like, what is your end goal? Just to be and continue? Or are you really like trying to manifest a full-time creative gig? Or are you like freelancing and stay in the freelance world and just looking for freelance stuff, going to one spot to the next?
Yeah, I think I'll stay. I think that's like it's not my stretch goal, but it's my
immediate goal.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, short-term goals. So, yes, just getting myself out there and like having a collection of work that looks like me and is me and sending that to people.
Yeah.
So I can have great things and pieces, and I do, but if no one can see them, who's going to pay to use them?
Do you send those to publishing companies and people who are looking for illustrators? And
so now that's like what I'm in. That's like what I started learning today is how to build a list of art directors at certain places. Like I was fortunate enough last week to hear the art or creative director from the New York Times speak about 4 illustrations that they had commissioned for editorials, to go along with articles. And it was great. Like editorial is very interesting. It's not a heavy hitter as far as like payment goes, but if I did 2 editorials a month, I would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I'm at now. Like ideally, I have big creative projects I'm working on. I think we might have touched on it last time where I'm working on a graphic novel about a rainbow hedgehog and who loses all her colors.
Yes.
And realizing it needed to be a graphic novel means it's much larger of a project than I anticipated. So the thing is you have to have small things that you're working on to kind of float you to get your big stuff done.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, I have all these characters, all of these animals in this universe, right, that I'm writing. Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be really fun to make like a more simple children's book about all of the animals bringing something to a picnic. Yeah. And then everybody's like together. And then that sort of is like, if you want to introduce, like, the universe is for everybody, right? Like the graphic novel, I feel like is probably going to be middle school-ish, I think.
Yeah.
Just based on like the content and like the abstract thought. Yeah. And I'm not really sure, kind of totally checked out of what kids are doing at what age. And so I think it'll be more middle school and adult, but the characters are cute.
Yeah.
So I think why not just, and that's something that like wouldn't take as long to do. And I'm just learning all the different ways you can make art as a, for a living. So some places like greeting card companies might have like, okay, we're accepting submissions for Christmas season in the spring, just because I'm learning that like a lot of artists are working on Christmas stuff in the summertime, which is interesting.
Yeah, because they have to have it for print.
So if you see anything like out in December,
6 months behind all of them.
Yeah. Which I had a little bit of experience when I worked in the warehouse at Build-A-Bear, understanding that like you're sending out Valentine's stuff like early December and you don't know why.
And you're also working on a coloring book, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this year is Mermay, or this month is May. So Mermay is a drawing challenge around mermaids every day in May.
Yeah.
And it's run by Tom Bancroft, who is he was an animator for Disney. He created Mushu, the character from Mulan, and Pumbaa from The Lion King.
Yeah.
But enough about men. There's a whole group of illustrators that lead it, and it's really fun. This is the 10th year of it, and it's special to me because May is my birthday month, and I just think it's magical. And the weather starts to change. You feel like the possibility of summer
Everything.
is upon us.
Everything changes, especially if you live in Ohio.
When I first got my iPad and my Apple Pencil, I first participated in Mermaid in 2018. And I go and I look at those and they suck. They're so bad. But it's nice because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know? And like, you think you don't want progress photos of your work, right?
Yeah,
but then you find out that you sure wish you had them.
Saying that for years.
Yeah. That was for you. Yeah, so I'm excited to be drawn mermaids.
Because by the time this episode airs, for sure, you'll probably have the coloring book available.
Yes, probably.
Because it'll be in like July.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So I decided that I had been drawing, mermaids and just the type of art I'm doing. I turned them all to mercats because I wanted them to just be cute. And I'm working on this book, so I don't have a ton of time to make like fully rendered illustrations, one every day for 31 days. If this was November, I would have had the time,
Right.
but no, I don't have it. So what I'm doing is I'm posting, I colored in stuff pretty quickly and then I posted, so there are 3 slides to each of the posts. So the first one being my colored version, the second one being just the line art, and the third one being like the overall prompt list for the month. And then I've been including the links to download the coloring pages. So the line art, I've turned them all into coloring pages. And then after, and I guess I can say this now because it will already be after, but right now they're up for free. But after May is over, I'm taking them all down and I'm turning them into a coloring book so that I can then sell.
Nice.
And I will make some adjustments to the images probably because every time I post one, I'll find some line that I forgot to erase and I'm just like, cool. But I'm allowing myself the space to just like, that saying where it's like, you can make it better later, but just make it now.
Right.
Get
it out there.
Yeah. So I'm learning a lot about that as well.
Nice. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Doing the damn thing.
Yeah. And I would say like, I've been using Pinterest the most out of like all the social medias because like, I don't know I don't know how often you use Pinterest or what your relationship with it is, but as a creative person, it's great to like source references and, when you're not looking for like.
I find all my tattoos.
That's amazing. Great. Yeah. And I've known all of the personal ways I can use Pinterest, but recently I've learned about how to help me from a business perspective. So I know that we'll chat about that. So that you all can
learn about it.
How are you selling your coloring book?
I think unfortunately, because of capitalism, I have to go through I'll probably do the Amazon will print it and ship it thing, which I really hate to do it. Part of me wants to say, okay, I'm donating 25% of my sales to something outside with air or birds.
Literally. We will link your Linktree, your Instagram, all of that. So by the time this airs, people can go and see where that is so they can find you.
I might even have my portfolio done by then.
If you have a link to the store, we can put that in there too.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you for that.
Okay, we will make sure people know where to find you. Thank you for coming back. You're obviously one of our favorites, and we appreciate you always supporting the pod and our events, but we're so proud of you.
I believe
You've made
I believe the things you're saying.
Yes, we are so proud of the year you've had and the growth that you've had.
Remember to give us a follow and like on Instagram and Facebook. We are also on Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, Apple Podcasts.
And if this episode resonated with you guys, please share it with friends and family.
Awesome.
Thanks,
guys.
you.
Love you.
Love you.